What's up, everybody? Welcome to Move the Sticks. DJ and Buck with you. Buck, what is going on, man?
Not too much, DJ. Finished up the top 5 list. Now I'm kind of digging through, prepping for the combine. It just never stops. Like you take that breather after you get some work done, but then you still know there's more work to do. So it's all good.
No, it's that time of year, man. I kind of celebrate. I circle a position when I get it done, in terms of all these combine guys. So real-time update. We've got defensive line done on the defensive side of the ball. We've got all the skill done now on offense. So I've got the quarterbacks done, the running backs, the tight ends, the receivers, all done. I'm going to try and knock out the offensive line today and tomorrow to finish that up. Offense done. And then, Buck, what's awaiting me is a sea of linebackers and secondary players that I haven't done yet. So that's going to be my push to get to next Thursday to have all that crap done.
Yeah, that's quite the push. A lot of guys to get done by Thursday.
I'll tell you what, though. I've been doing doing that stuff all day, and I kind of wrap it about 10:30. I'm trying to prioritize the sleeps. Try to get in bed by 11, get a nice night's sleep. And I'll tell you what, they make a nice little massage thing now, like one of those little things. It's the little rolling balls that you can kind of get on your shoulder. That's been my go-to. That's the end of the day. That's what I look forward to. Get the little rolling ball massage thing, and then right into bed, out like a light.
Oh, look at you!
When you did that in scouting days, I would have traveled with that thing back in the day. Fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic. All right, today what we're doing, we're talking about the teams that are going to kind of run this draft. And by run the draft, meaning the teams that have the most draft capital, which is going to provide them a lot of flexibility. And not only in this draft, but shoot, you want to take a pick or two and push for a trade? Hey, let's go for it. You've got all the ammunition you need to get that done as well. So I thought we kind of rip through those, and that's going to get us to it's time for Hot or Not, brought to you by Wasabi Hot Cloud Storage, because these are the hot teams in the 2026 draft. And we're going to start first of all with the team at the tippy top of the list, and that is the New York Jets. Let me lay this out for you here. This is a team that has picks 2, 16, 33, 44. So 4 of the top picks, of the top 45 picks they hold. They've got 103, 175, 178, 193, 207, 218, 242. So a lot of picks there, but really the focus will be on those first 4 picks for that team.
Yeah, that's a lot of capital. And for a team with a lot of needs, that's perfect. The thing that the Jets have an opportunity to do is what we always talk about teams doing is build the team up, drop the quarterback in when the team is ready, as opposed to chasing the quarterback. And so we will see a team that needs a quarterback. Can they resist the urge to maybe pull the trigger too soon? As opposed to, hey, let's just get the best players that we can get, build up the roster, whatever the season looks like this year, it looks like. And then next year, when we have an opportunity, let's get a quarterback in free agency or in the draft to allow us to go to the next level.
Yeah, if you look at where they are from a financial standpoint, they got $67 million in cap space as of right now. That can change a little bit, but they have plenty of money, which I'm going to kind of connect these things together here. You mentioned all these holes. This is a defense last year. 31st in sacks, notoriously 32nd in turnovers without a single interception. So they could not get the ball away at all. Offensively, 30th in points per game. The highest QB pressure rate allowed. I mean, there's a lot of holes we got to plug here. So the first order of business is with this $67 million in cap space, I'm franchise tagging Breece Hall. I'm not letting him walk out of the building. I'm done. I know you've done these running backs. I've looked at these running backs. I don't love that group in terms of being able to. You're not finding anybody better than Breece Hall in this draft. I can tell you that right now with with what they need to get accomplished. So to me, I'm franchising him, starting right there. That's one hole that we've plugged in the boat. And now you can make a strong case. Let's take a good bit of this early capital, these first 4 picks. Let's try and fix this defense, man.
Yeah, it's so crazy that with 2 things. One, if I'm Breece Hall, I don't know how excited I am about doing that, like having to play on the tag, because
I wouldn't think he'd be excited at all, but I don't know that he's going to have a choice.
Yeah, because if I'm him, my question to them would be like, yeah, that's great, y'all want to keep me and all that, but how are you going to use me? You've mismanaged my role multiple years. I'm a guy who should be an upper echelon back, and I've hadn't gotten opportunities. Can they guarantee that he is going to get the opportunities to be the bell cow and the workhorse for an offense that really needs the running back to kind of be the driving force? Then when it comes to the defense, it's amazing to me how quickly the defense fell off. Like, we used to celebrate this defense in terms of the depth, the talent, what they had. And last year they were terrible. They couldn't turn the ball over, couldn't get to the quarterback. And what we think about the Jets, we think about their defense, but their defense is not nearly what the reputation was or should be given the personnel on that side of the ball.
Well, they traded their best two players. I mean, Sauce Gardner and Quinnen Williams gone.
That certainly didn't help. That certainly didn't help. But I'm just saying, even the first half of the season when we watched them, they didn't play like we're accustomed to seeing the Jets. So now they have to go back in the draft and replace those two blue chip players that they had, Quinnen Williams and Sauce Gardner, while still adding more pieces to the puzzle. And they have to do it in Aaron Glenn's vision as he takes over the play calling duties.
Yeah, I mean, the offensive line has some good young pieces. They've invested in that in the draft the last few years. Elijah Vera Tucker is a free agent who's just had injuries, throughout his run there. But they've got some good young players there, including some talented young tackles. So I think they're in a pretty good spot to start there. You can get an interior lineman. I don't know that I'd necessarily need to do that in my first 4 picks, but to me, just trying to build up this defense, you can get, the second pick, the 16th pick. I mean, you can get a couple guys that can really, really help you there. You need another receiver too, offensively.
Yeah, to me, that's where the second round comes in. Yeah. So if we talk about building up the defense with the first 2 picks in the first round, we've seen year after year after year, you can find someone in the second or third round that can come. And one of those, we talk about the depth of this wide receiver class. Somebody's going to be available that can serve in that role. And remember, you have a number 1 receiver in Garrett Wilson. So the guy that you're bringing doesn't need to fit that role. He just needs to be a specialist that can contribute. And they also got some plays occasion from A.D. Mitchell. So just a matter of figuring out how they can find someone that can come and be a very, very good role player.
Yeah, I mean, you look at corner as an area they obviously have to address here. I think that's got to be one of those first 4 picks. But this is a team that can move up and down the board too. I don't know if look, there's really good players there at 2. But with your needs along the defensive line and the depth of this class, I don't know that anybody's trying to move up for the second pick in this draft, though. I just don't know who the target would be. It wouldn't really make any sense. I don't think you're going to be able to get out.
Yeah, I don't think you can be able to auction. Normally, there's a quarterback that drives the movement at the top of the board. There's not a quarterback. The Raiders don't move off Mendoza. There's not another quarterback that we can sit here and say, hey, they're worthy of being a top 5 pick. Well, if you don't have that and you don't necessarily have the Myles Garrett type pass rusher, those are the 2 things that normally drive the market. There's no one in there like that. So you better be very comfortable sticking and picking and finding a player that matches what you need at that pick.
Yeah, no doubt. And by the way, this was the hottest team. So that's why we talked about that at the very top. That was this week's Hot or Not segment brought to you by Wasabi Hot Cloud Storage. Store more and do more with your data. Try them for free at wasabi.com. Well, if that's the hottest team, Buck, if we get to the second hottest team, it's the team picking 1 spot ahead of them. And that's the Las Vegas Raiders, who have the second most draft capital with 10 picks. That includes 136, 67, 102, 117. So they have 10 total picks. And then to compare that to where they are on the free agency side, $77 million of cap space. They've got a real opportunity to have a massive offseason to inject some much needed talent to this group.
Yeah, much needed talent. And now that we know who the head coach is, it's a lot easier to project who they should target and how they should build this team. Clint Kubiak coming over, and we'll talk about the offense first. To me, this is a project that he's fully prepared for. Just thinking about the opportunity that he had to work as a passing game coordinator in San Francisco. That gave him experience in seeing what an offense can be like when you have a dominant running back like they had with CMC and a dominant tight end in George Kittle. He has that in Ashton Genty and Brock Bowers. You think about what he had to do in terms of building Sam Darnold up in Seattle is how can I build up a young quarterback? How can I put the pieces around him to allow him to flourish? He certainly understood in Seattle, man, they built up the offensive line to give them a chance. If they commit draft capital to fortifying the offensive line with also some selected veteran free agents and finding a number 2 receiver, whether you get that in the draft or not, that gives them a chance to get to it. Because I'm going to say this, systematically, Fernando Mendoza is going to give them a chance because to me, he's a great fit within that system. Now it's about making sure that you elevate the players around him so that he can have success in a managerial role and he doesn't have to get out of pocket and act like a playmaker. He is better when he's able to manage it, control it, connect the dots, as opposed to having to put everything on his shoulders.
I like the idea of them following the blueprint that the Patriots gave them from last year, which was aggressive in free agency on the defensive side of the ball, spend some real money there, bringing over guys like Milton Williams, Kayvon Chason, Carlton Davis, Robert Spillane. Like they got a lot of key players for their defense in free agency. And then in the draft, they get 2 offensive linemen. Now, look, it was a rocky road for them in the playoffs, but that's a group that got him to the Super Bowl, was at least a part of it there. It can grow with him. You get Travion Henderson, an explosive dynamic back. You get Kyle Williams. They got a lot of good young players in the draft. I think that's a great blueprint for them. And to me, if nothing else, this is, we've talked about this before, but like I don't buy for 1 second the argument of, well, you can't take the quarterback because the offensive line stinks. Like, no, look, the Patriots changed 4/5 of their offensive line in 1 year. You can swap it out. And they've got Colton Miller. If he comes back healthy, you've got a top 10 left tackle over there. So yeah, that's the hardest piece to find. You've already got it. They can fill out the rest of this thing in the draft and maybe with one key free agent.
Yeah, one key free agent. And like, let's be honest, and I don't know what kind of value he would command, but remember, there are a lot of teams that need a quarterback. Where they have a quarterback that they're going to move off from, presumably, and Geno Smith. Maybe he can fetch back a couple of later round picks to give them some more ammunition to go and attack what they need to attack on the offensive line and what they need to attack on the entire defense. But this is a team that when you look at the cap space and the draft picks, they could orchestrate one of those quick turnarounds if they hit on those selections.
All right, Buck. Cleveland Browns. On the money side, look, that's a lot of that's Deshaun Watson, right? They're only $3.2 million worth of cap space, but they can maneuver a little bit, try and create some more. They have 10 picks. They have 624, so 2 first rounders, 39, 70, 107. So they've got 2 in the first round, 1 in the second, 1 in the third, 1 in the fourth, 3 fives, 10 picks for a team that basically needs to overhaul an entire offensive line. That is where this thing has to start and end.
Yeah, it has to start and end. And like the Jets, we talked about the Jets can do something that we've advocated for is build up the team and then find a quarterback when you need to find a quarterback. The Cleveland Browns have 2 options when it comes to quarterback, in my mind. Shedeur Sanders, Deshaun Watson, whatever, one of those guys can start while Todd Monken begins to attack this offense. You talked about the offensive line. To me, the pick number 6 needs to be an offensive lineman. You need to get the best offensive lineman that you can get. 24, maybe we think about wide receiver. But to me, I have to commit the capital to get this offensive line up and going. It was tragic what they trotted out last year in that offensive line. Like, you just should never put anybody behind that kind of offensive line. That has to be the priority. And given Monken's background, coming from Baltimore, coming from Georgia, where you saw the impact that a dominant offensive line can have on your offense and the quarterback play, I think it has to be where they start and where they end the rebuilding process.
Yeah, you look at some of their numbers from last year offensively, 31st in points. That's not great. 31st in passing yards per game, 30th in turnovers, 32nd, dead last in QB pressures, 26th in sacks. So, I mean, that all points to one position. I mean, it's the offensive line group. Obviously the quarterback is a big part of that as well, but that's where the focus has to be. And if you can't, probably roll with what you have quarterback wise and see if you can get that offensive line fixed. Defensively, you got to replace your defensive coordinator, but this is a defense that was, literally one of the best in the NFL last year. So they're in pretty good spot there. They do have some free agents. Looks like Njoku likely to move on, but all 5 starting offensive linemen are free agents, Buck. I don't know if I've ever seen that before.
Well, it's a good thing that they're all free agents because then that way you don't have to say any sad goodbyes. Because, you can just start it over. I am curious to see, DJ, will they double up in the first round at offensive line? We've never seen a team really do that, but can they double up and maybe get 2 tackles or a tackle in the guard, but really commit the resources to being able to do it? Everyone is taking Will Campbell and the Patriots offensive line to task for the way that they perform in the Super Bowl. But I do know this. We saw a team with a left side of their offensive line comprised of rookies go to the Super Bowl. So there is a way that you can do it quickly if you draft and develop the right guys. To me, this has to be a situation where the Browns attack the draft. they have to find a way to rebuild their starting lineup at the front, along the front.
Yeah, and talking to some folks that are familiar with how they operate there, I do think there is some baseball influence from Paul DePodesta that's still there in terms of how they set things up there, which is they have become huge on development, like really investing in development, having guys in place to help these young players develop, even outside of the coaching staff. A baseball operation, you have your coaching staff and you have your player development side. They've kind of incorporated a little bit of that model with Cleveland. So I think they're going to rely on a lot of young guys. They got a lot of picks here. I wouldn't be surprised to even see them trading back, getting more picks in this draft, getting future picks in 27, more lottery tickets for a quarterback-friendly group, as it looks as of now, and really trying to let these young guys play and develop because, man, last year's rookie class was outstanding, the contributions they got from those, including the defensive rookie of the year.
I mean, they are really good in terms of what they were able to get done from their draft class. Now, the odds of them hitting like they hit this year in this year's class, it's going to be difficult. But if they get the right marquee players, and if they do commit to the developmental process, and if they're not swayed by public opinion and by the record that they post the first half of the season, to me, that's the best way to go about doing it. Put them on the field, let them play, coach them up, get them those reps, and at some point, it's going to pop. And because Todd Monken comes over, and whatever the length of his contract is, 5 years, 6 years, whatever that is, there should be a collective thought. Let's do this the right way. Because they've tried the quick fixes and it hasn't worked. They need to really commit to doing it the right way. Build it slowly, but build it the right way.
Yeah, it's going to be a big challenge for that group coming in there. But I do think teaching, developing is going to be a huge component of them trying to get that accomplished. All right. This team might surprise people in terms of the team that has the most capital and the most say-so in this draft. Next up is the Pittsburgh Steelers, who don't pick till 21, but they have 21, 53, 76, 85, 99, 121. So that breaks out as one first-round pick, one second-round pick. They have a lot of those picks kind of in the middle portion of this draft.
Yeah. Now, there are two things I'm Mike McCarthy that I need to do first in relating to the quarterbacks. One, I need to have a conversation with Aaron Rodgers to see if he's coming back or not. Secondly, we need to spend a lot of our time, some bulk of the time in the draft process, doing a Ty Simpson versus Will Campbell compare and contrast, because that could dictate how we attack the draft in the first round. If we feel strongly about Ty Simpson over Will Howard, man, we can make the move. He can serve as an apprentice behind Aaron Rodgers for one more year. Aaron Rodgers gets an opportunity to play the offense that he wants to play because it's Mike McCarthy's system, which we know is something that made him play very, very well in Green Bay. And then it's about getting that room straight. And then once you get that room straight, I think it's easy to build the rest of it, right? We got to get the defensive defense situated with some of the older guys and younger guys playing. Patrick Graham takes over that unit, so that should be fine. But they need an explosive playmaker on the outside too to go with DK Metcalf. They need another viable weapon. I know George Pickens didn't work there. A lot of that had little to do with on the field, had more to do with off the field and his interactions. I got to find someone who can give me that kind of juice though on the outside with DK.
They have the 1, the 2, the 3 third-round picks. That's going to be the sweet spot for them. And guess what? If A.J. Brown were to, become available, if there's other wide receivers that ended up on the trade market, they've already done this once with DK. They could very easily parlay one of those third-round picks into trying to free another wide receiver for somewhere else, whether that's DJ Moore, whoever else might pop on the trade market. They have that luxury as well to be able to pull off a trade. But this is a young offensive line. It's a young, talented offensive line. I like the group that they have there. You talked about getting another complimentary receiver. That's big. The quarterback situation is kind of on its own island of importance, obviously. Corner, safety. I think really the secondary is a big area of focus there.
Yeah, big area of focus. And you have some players that you have to have conversations with to figure out what's the best position for them. So like Jalen Ramsey, what are we doing with him? Are we good with him playing safety all the time, or are we going to move him back and forth? He can be a bit of the hybrid. What are we going to do with JPJ? Is Joey Porter Jr. ready to be the number one, or do we need to find somebody else that can occupy that role? With some of these picks, it's really about seeing how the pieces of the puzzle comes together. And I'm not going to lie, TJ Watt did not have the greatest year. So how much juice does he have in the tank? What do we have behind him? Those other guys that have played, Sawyer and Herbig, are they ready for bigger roles? Do we need to go draft one? So the Steelers have a lot of decisions that they have to make leading up to the draft.
Yeah, no doubt. Big offseason for them with a new coach. We'll see how they handle the offseason with free agency and with the draft. Next up, the last one on this list here is the Tennessee Titans. Coming off a 3-14 year, they picked 35 in the second round, 66, and then 101. So again, a team 4-35, that's an opportunity to get two pretty big pieces to your group. You got to believe that one of those picks is someone that can help this offensive line out.
Yeah, I mean, they got to help the offensive line. I think if you're Robert Saleh, you have to assess the division. We talk about the best way to build your team is you got to build it to win the division. There's some really good defenses in that division. So do you want to build a defensive juggernaut that can go toe-to-toe with Houston and Jacksonville, and even to a lesser degree, the Indianapolis Colts? Or do you want to build an offense that can come up and combat some of those things? You talked about the offensive line needs to be addressed. They do need to figure out how to address it. I would say this, they got to figure out stylistically what they want to do. They have Tony Pollard, but whenever I think of the Titans, I think about big physical backs. I think about people that can grind it out. They did it with Derrick Henry for a decade. They did it with Eddie George previously to that. To me, they have to be able to grind it out. And not saying they expend a top pick, but I think the complexion of their team has to change if they're going to be a team that has lasting power in their division. And, oh, by the way, you got to find a number one receiver in somewhere.
Yeah, the challenge is on that offensive line. I mean, they committed a lot of money to Dan Moore. I thought they overpaid there, but he's kind of in that left tackle spot. So you're cash committed to a guy who's just, you're hoping he's average. Skoronski's talented at left guard. Cushenberry at center. You can make a case they could get better there. Zeitler's a free agent. Latham, is got all the talent in the world. Whether or not you want to keep him at right tackle, whether you feel like his best home is eventually inside. That's debatable. But he's got enough ability there to stick. So it's kind of a weird setup there. But defensively, they need edge rush bad as well. So that's an area they could look with these high picks.
Yeah, complimentary guy to Simmons. Simmons is dominant on the inside. He had a terrific year, and it's hard to have a great year when your team is bad and you don't have favorable pass rush opportunities, but he was able to do it. They need to find that explosive pass rusher on the outside, someone that can get you double-digit sacks, someone that you have to command, that commands attention, you have to slide to, so then you get more one-on-ones other places. It'll be interesting because at 4, we talk about those guys. Are they a Bailey fan? It seems a little early for Ruben Bain, but who are they going to get in the draft that can help them find a way to get to the quarterback?
Well, Bain, for one thing, is an identity pick. If you're trying to set your identity and you want to be a junkyard dog type group and Jeffrey Simmons fits that mold, you could make a case, well, that kind of fits the ethos you'd be looking to build there with Robert Saleh. So that's it's an interesting team to keep an eye on for sure. All right, Buck, there you have it. Those are 5 teams with the most control in this draft. And again, we'll see what happens with these picks as free agency comes. I do think that the draft as a whole, because of some of the positions being a little bit lighter, maybe we see more trades. Maybe we see some movement here on the veteran front to supplement free agency as well.
Yeah, we'll see some of that. But also, DJ, we talk about trades. We may see more trades so people can continue to stuff the war chest, not for this year.
27.
Year. There's some people that there's certain general managers and team builders that we know love to have a couple first-round picks in their pocket that allows them the flexibility to do multiple things, whether during the season or next season.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, looking forward to getting closer to this thing again. We'll have more discussion on these individual players as we get towards Combine Week. So be on the lookout for that. Until then, we'll see you next time right here on Move the Sticks.